What's the hottest thing a guy can say during? Not really what he said, but a sound he made. I heard him whimper once, and I found out something new about myself. Whenever I'm getting a blahsu job, I make noise like they're doing a great job. Even if they aren't doing that well, when they hear me enjoying myself, they really start going to town. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. My ex would go down and always say, "I love the way you taste. I can eat you all day. Also, you are so wet. I love how good you feel." I have noticed that at times my wife will start tasting sweet. I've wondered if it's her or just my body's mental and physical reaction to her. Not actual words, but when they're loudly moaning and whimpering, like, "Yes, please show me how good it feels." I struggle with this one a lot. My ex-wife of 8 years was very cold and manipulative, and she would shame me for the sounds I made during so much that I am now completely silent. She would make me feel so disgusted with myself, especially during orgasm. God forbid I ever got cum on her, even by accident. I've had another partner since divorce, but those 8 years really changed me. I can't cum anymore, even solo, because I just think about how gross I am. Doesn't matter how much I was told to the contrary by the more recent partner, I still had to fake 99% of my orgasms just to get it over with so I can spend the night crying in the bathroom. I really like when my husband checks in. It's literally just you like that. But it's all deep and why, because he's into it. And if I respond yes, then, obviously, eggs him on and it gets even better. Sometimes though it's a no and we change it up, which is also great. Communication is the hottest, y'all. Then he starts thinking of how it eggs him on. And he start thinking of eggs, how he might fertilize yours. He begins to stress and thinks about how early he's going to pull out to prevent it. Then he starts thinking about chicken eggs and how delicious a sausage and cheese omelet would be. Then his friend Craig pops into his mind and how he has been ducking him because he owes $130 for a golf tournament they went on 2 months ago. The golf pops up and he finishes immediately. Says, "I love you babe so FN much," and crashes. The next morning, he wishes he can remember how hot the was and how hot you were during, but his memory fails him. Story of my life since marriage. And I made it about me again. Narcissist lately? Sorry, this was a dumb reply. I'm not stopping till you come and meaning it. I've only met 1 or 2 men like this. I hope they're doing well, wherever they are. I have this with my wife. Our relationship has been all over the place. We had incredible, then the 2 kids came and she lost her drive. She got her drive back and I got in a bad accident and couldn't perform for over half a year. Then when we started again, I'd last seconds. Now we've found our feet again and I've never had better in my life, and I make it my aim to please her thoroughly until I finish because she never once refused during the time she was getting me back to my best. She just stuck by me and helped, and for that, she deserves to feel the best I can do for her. If it's not casual, saying "I love you so much" absolutely sends me. Saying this to someone during Casal is just kinda an eye-opening buzz. Can speak from experience, years after it used to happen. The heart wants what the heart wants, but it's hard being told that you're loved by them. Being very close and intimate for a fair while, going through several hardships during some of the most crucial moments of emotional development, only to be told that they don't love you that way. I'm gonna come and you can feel the squeeze. Ugh, it's hot as. I end up finishing around the same time cause it's a pleasure for them to finish inside. I've gotta ask, this really goes for any woman who comes across this comment. Every woman is different, but do you actually feel our squeeze, pulsate, whatever you want to call it when we come? I don't know you why this fascinates me so much. I've asked all my girlfriends and I swear it was split right down the middle that they either could or couldn't with. Most of them being dead set in their answer that people who said they could were lying, or if they couldn't they're lying. Once had a man absolutely rock my world, and then when I started to move to get up, he growled "I'm not done" right near my ear. One time it was like 10 p.m. at night and I was too tired for playtime, but my girl kept asking for it to the point she nearly cried. She cries about everything though. So I gave in and we got naked. As I'm going at it from behind, I start getting really into it and start going harder and harder, and I grabbed her neck real tight, leaned into her ear, and whispered, "Is this what you wanted?" She said it was the hottest thing to ever happen to her in bed, made me feel when he's just touching, admiring my body, and says, "God, I love you," when he does low grunts, groans, especially when I slide down onto him, when he says he is gonna come. Basically anything showing he is genuinely really enjoying himself. Probably one of the hottest things that ever happened to me was when an ex was riding me and I told her I was gonna come and did, but she never got off of me and kept riding me. I don't know what was over me that night, but barely a minute initial post-coitus casual riding, I say, in equal parts surprise and complete amazement, "I'm gonna come again." When I say she smothered me and melted into me while she kissed and lightly bit me as it happened is an understatement. She went totally mad. One of the best human experiences of my life. Men tend to be quiet during, and it honestly pisses me off. But my personal favorite are little dirty phrases peppered in there and there. Had a boyfriend that would say things like, "Why are you so wet?" while fingering me. Then he'd go back to the task at hand. Didn't linger on it or make a whole storyline, but at the moment it was super hot. Men groaning or moaning is a personal favorite. Men, PSA, we love some noise during. It does a lot for us. My husband was going down on me, and when I got close, I covered my mouth to keep quiet, habit from living in an apartment. Without moving his head from between my legs, he reached up, yanked my hand away, and said, "Don't you dare keep quiet. I want to hear you." Instant, earth-shattering orgasm. I once was in a new relationship with a girl we just recently started having, and she was an overthinker. I was going down on her, one of the first times, and she wouldn't quit talking. She was describing how it was feeling, but not in a why way, things she was worried about, etc. I realized she was too in her head and growled, "Shut up and come." Into her, she gave a surprised and turned on new, and within 20 seconds she was coming extremely hard. I can't stop, oh my god, the cum accelerates. Infinite cum. You sit on the toilet to jack off, but you begin to cum uncontrollably. After 10 spurts you start to worry. Your hand is sticky and it reeks of semen. You desperately shove your into a wad of toilet paper, but that only makes your balls hurt. The cum accelerates. It's been 3 minutes. You can't stop coming. Your bathroom floor is covered in a thin layer of baby fluid. You try to come into the shower drain, but it builds up too fast. You try the toilet. The cum is too thick to be flushed. You lock the bathroom door to prevent the cum from escaping. The air grows hot and humid from the cum. The cum accelerates. You slip and fall in your own sperm. The cum is now 6 inches deep, almost as long as your still erect semen hose. Sprawled on your back, you begin to cum all over the ceiling. Globs of the sticky white fluid begin to fall like raindrops, giving you a facial with your own cum. The cum accelerates. You struggle to stand as the force of the cum begins to propel you backwards as if you were on a Buckake-themed slip and slide. Still on your knees, the cum is now at chin height. To avoid drowning, you open the bathroom door. The deluge of man juice reminds you of the Great Molasses Flood of 1919, only with cum instead of molasses. The cum accelerates. It's been 2 hours. Your children and wife scream in terror as their bodies are engulfed by the snow-white sludge. Your youngest child goes under, with viscous bubbles and muffled cries rising from the goop. You plead to God to end your suffering. The cum accelerates. You squeeze to stop the cum, but it begins to leak out of your hole. Instead, you let go. The force of the cum tears your urethra open, leaving only a gaping hole in your crotch that spews semen. Your body picks up speed as it slides backwards along the cum. You smash through the wall, hurtling into the sky at 30 miles an hour. From a bird's eye view, you see your house is completely white. Your neighbor calls the cops. The cum accelerates. As you continue to ascend, you spot police cars racing towards your house. The cops pull out their guns and take aim, but stray loads of cum hit them in the eyes, blinding them. The cum accelerates. You are now at an altitude of 1,000 feet. The SWAT team arrives. Military helicopters circle you. Hundreds of bullets pierce your body at once, yet you stay conscious. Your testicles have now grown into a substitute brain. The cum accelerates. It has been 2 days. With Your body now destroyed, the cum begins to spray in all directions. You break the sound barrier. The government deploys fighter jets to chase you down, but the impact of your cum sends one plane crashing to the ground. The government decides to let you leave the Earth. You feel your gonads start to burn up as you reach the edges of the atmosphere. You narrowly miss the ISS, giving it a new white paint job as you fly past. Physicists struggle to calculate your erratic trajectory. The cum accelerates. The cum begins to gravitate towards itself, forming a comet trail of semen. Astronomers begin calling you the comet. You are stuck in space forever, stripped of your body and senses, forced to endure an eternity of cum shots. Eventually, you stop thinking. I once had a guy give me lots of compliments leading up to, "You're so hot, your tits are incredible, how can someone look so good," etc. Then, while going down on me, he paused for a moment, and when I looked down, he was just staring into my vagina. I asked what he was doing, and he said, "You have the prettiest vagina I've ever seen." As someone with a praise kink, I was done for. This was months ago, and I'm still riding the high. To make it even better, he had such a cute accent, so the compliments sounded that much better. After I had one of the best orgasms of my life from him going down on me, he looked at me again and said, "Well, I'm very hard right now. Ugh, one of the best Yule experiences I've ever had. Being enthusiastic about pleasuring your partner and letting them know is the hottest thing there is." When my wife gets close, I command her to come for me, and it usually sends her over the edge. This absolutely works, but I also have found the opposite to be true. My ex was gifted and able to come many times in a shorter window. When she got to number 4 or 5, she would get right to the edge and not be able to finish, and telling her to come for me put too much pressure on her, so I began telling her something along the lines of, "Please don't come yet. You feel too good. I'm not finished playing with you." A little reverse psychology always gave her that last little nudge to put her over the edge one more time. I wish I had figured that trick out sooner. I am blessed with a man who is a fantastic dirty talker. "I loving you so much. You take my cock so well. Good girl. You want me to make your little cum? And most importantly, I love you so much, baby." At climax, all send me over the edge and make me brain dead lol. The thing about all of those is that not only are they dirty, they're also lyrical, musical. Talking dirty is like singing a really dirty song. There are tones and inflections, beats, off beats, and ghost notes. The texture of one's voice is a factor too. It's just that the rhythms of aren't steady at first. Personally think there are probably 2 or 3 main physical, mental systems, and maybe 2-3 minor ones that all need to be nudged into sync to achieve orgasm. And because they're all out of sync at first, you have to be creative in the different rhythmic flows to nudge them into sync. Then, once they are in sync, that's when you find their steady rhythm and double down on that, then bring up the tempo to climax. Erotica works the same way, except the words are heard in your head rather than out loud, so if you figure out the rhythms you can write some very dirty letters too. I've sometimes wondered if I should try writing erotica, which, now that I think about it, I wonder about those people who don't hear an internal voice. I wonder if they respond to a partner talking dirty the same way everyone else does. They might respond, but I don't know if it's qualitatively the same. When I'm building up to come, sometimes I'll say, "Look at me." I'll place her hands palms up on the bed above her head with my arms going under her arms and then holding her hands or wrists down. This position puts us close enough that it's almost too close to comfortably hold eye contact and close enough that her nipples will graze against my chest with each thrust. I keep a steady pace and just gaze into her eyes. It's always too much for her and she'll look away, biting her lip. Then I'll say again in a more commanding tone, "Look at me." She'll look back and keep her gaze and finally cry out in an uncontrollable moan. As she begins to come hard, I bust inside of her with our eyes locked and I join her in moaning. I like to tease my girlfriend as hard as possible. Her favorite is my hand on her throat, holding back quite a lot and whisper in her ear asking, "Do you want it all?" Or some variation of that. Repeat a few times, go a bit deeper each time. Maybe some, are you sure? Can you take it all? Drives her in crazy. You can actually keep that going for a while too. Find the right balance of pleasure and anticipation, maybe frustration. She turns to putty. Then it's more intense when you give it all to her. This is pretty tame, but getting any kind of kinky with it, your mileage may vary. My girl loves when I whisper in her ear. She melts when I say, the 100 Years' War was one of the most significant conflicts of the Middle Ages. For 116 years, interrupted by several truces, 5 generations of kings from 2 rival dynasties fought for the throne of the dominant kingdom in Western Europe. The war's effect on European history was lasting. Both sides produced innovations in military technology and tactics, including professional standing armies and artillery, that permanently changed warfare in Europe. Chivalry, which had reached its high during the conflict, subsequently declined. Stronger national identities took root in both countries, which became more centralized and gradually rose as global powers. The term 100 Years' War was adopted by later historians as a historiographical periodization to encompass related conflicts, constructing the longest military conflict in European history. The war is commonly divided into 3 phases separated by truces: the Edwardian War 1337-1360, the Caroline War 1369-1389, and the Lancastrian War 1415-1453. Each side drew many allies into the conflict, with English forces initially prevailing. However, the French forces under House of Valois ultimately retained control over the Kingdom of France, and the French and English monarchies, previously intertwined, thereafter remained separate. Gets her every time. My guy is always in constant love with eating me, and whenever I get upset or feel low, he always says, I guess it's the time for my queen to sit on her throne. He wants to sit on his face. He always describes how he loves eating me and how it feels. He also is like kissing my shoulders or forehead or cheeks while I ride him, and when he put my hair back at my ears so that he can adore me, constantly telling me how much he loves and tell me I wish I could you forever. Also, this is a constant record of him kissing my forehead after or hugging me like I am his home. It melts my heart and just makes me want to love him more. Switch to my account just for this lamau. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship where we never, and I mean never, not once, had, so I started hooking up like crazy. The first guy I slept with in 2 years indulged a kink I'd never really been able to explore because a lot of guys get freaked out by it, especially casual partners. Plus, I'd only had 2 partners at that point in my life. Anyway, dude essentially tells me he's gonna knock me up and send me back to my ex with his baby, only in much more explicit terms. He also started playing into the humiliation thing by asking me what everyone would think if I dropped out of college because I got pregnant by a stranger. Yeah, let's just say I've never had a partner since who will indulge that kink in such an aggressive way for me. I wasn't expecting it when I asked him if he was fine with that kink, but holy Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it was hot. Honestly, with both men and women, the hottest thing for me is straight up simple communication. Stuff like communicating feedback, dirty talk, little jokes, watchwords, etc. all make feel more interactive and involved. Beyond that, personally, I'm into certain kinks and stuff that can get inside my head, like degradation or hypnoplay, as well as responsiveness when I take dominant roles with verbalized kink play, can be incredibly satisfying. I've had partners where I'm talking and there's just no responsiveness. I end up not knowing if anything I'm doing is pleasing or not, and it just feels like we're going through the motions rather than actually having a shared dynamic experience. Hark, Triton, hark! Bellow, bid our father the Sea King rise from the depths full foul in his fury. Black waves teeming with salt foam to smother this young mouth with pungent slime, to choke ye, engorging your organs till ye turn blue and bloated with bilge and brine, and can scream no more, only when he, crowned in cockle shells with slithering tentacle tail and steaming beard, take up his fell-befinned arm, his coral-tine trident screeches banshee like in the tempest, and plunges right through wire gullet, bursting ye, a bulging bladder no more, but a blasted bloody film now, and nothing for the harpies and the souls of dead sailors to peck and claw and feed upon, only to be lapped up and swallowed by the infinite waters of the dread emperor himself, forgotten to any man, to any time, forgotten to any god or devil, forgotten even to the sea, for any stuff or part of Winslow, even any scantling of your soul is Winslow no more, but is now itself the sea. Right after watching the season finale of Great British Baking Show where Giuseppe won. He was our fave from the beginning, my husband and I decided to fool around, and when he came he instantly shouted Giuseppe. And we both laughed our asses off, literally still inside me. It caught me so off guard that I just lost it, laughing to the point of inqueefing lem foul. Humor to me is always the hottest thing about anyone, and when you can have that kind of riotous, genuine laughter during, I think you just can't beat it. Certainly will always be remembered anyways. What really gets my girl going is when I'm blowing her back out and I get real close to her ear and nibble it as I whisper, "Come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be, as a friend. As a friend, as an old enemy, take your time. Hurry up, choice is yours. Don't be late, take a rest, as a friend, as an old memoria. Memoria, memoria, memoria come doused in mud, soaked in bleach, as I want you to be, as a trend. As a friend, as an old memoria. Memoria, 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 and I swear that I don't have a gun, no. I don't have a gun, no. I don't have a gun, memoria. Memoria, memoria, memoria. No, I don't have a gun, and I swear that I don't have a gun, no. 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 I don't have a gun. Saying, did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side that he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. He became so powerful the only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he taught his apprentice everything he knew, then his apprentice ate him in his sleep. Ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself. Had a guy call me a good boy. Weirdly wholesome even if the act wasn't. Just remembered, just having a guy checking on you makes the whole thing feel so much sweeter. I got, choked up when I wasn't expecting it once, and I was completely fine, so I just kinda kept going. But he taps me on the side of the head, and in this real whisper's voice he says, "You alright? Need a second?" And that was a million times hotter than a guy who would ignore it and say something along the lines of, "You like getting choked, huh boy?" Which has its own place. Most guys seem to have trouble recognizing the different moods though. My wife has a submissive kink and I have a major dom kink, so the talk during that turns her on is usually along those lines, so probably not for everyone. Ironically, outside of, we have a very egalitarian, equal partnership type of relationship. Kinks are kinks, I suppose. That said, some of her favorites, when I tell her to say things to me, like "Tell me who this tight little belongs to," or "Tell me how badly you want me to fill your little with my cum," really just about anything that makes her talk a little dirty drives her crazy, which in turn drives me crazy. Other ones that elicit a strong response, "Your little moans are driving me crazy. I love how wet your little is for me. This belongs to me. I've been thinking about how good you taste all day. Your feels so good on my cock, you're going to make me explode. You're such a dirty girl. For getting so wet when I pull your hair, choke you, pin you against the wall, whatever thing I'm doing to her. And the one that will make her orgasm within a minute of having just orgasmed. You're such a good girl for coming so hard on daddy's cock. I love you for being so good for me." I usually say something like this while looking right in her eyes, softly stroking her hair or palming her cheek gently. The shift from rough and dominating to gentle, praising, and caring really makes her lose it.